engine fire as a kicker, overland aircraft land safely in Lagos.
Well, again, in print, Kingsley, I'm sure, I don't know, they say the headlines tell the direction or the thoughts of the paper.
No, that's yellow journalism. It's yellow. That's sensationalism. You want to sell X, Y. It is not just because it is a Nigerian pilot. I mean, which exaggerates its lead story usually with an exclamation mark. It's typical to say. Sometimes when you have the wing of one aircraft brushing that of another, maybe the aircraft is going to park. You can't see the headlines. It's to say, so many passengers cheated death. Both planes are right there, at the apron.
Okay, Kingsley, yes. Since you've talked about aviation, let me also take this one. It's on the front page of Al Jazeera Friday, just on the right-hand column, that's to your left. 3 airlines on verge of collapse over aviation fuel crisis. Again, on the verge of collapse. I don't know if Kingsley would fault that headline, but that is what it is. The aviation fuel crisis is hitting hard, not just aviation fuel, also diesel. It's also hitting hard.
Well, aircraft use what's called jet A1 fuel, but diesel on the other hand, I mean that's a different story altogether. But the aviation fuel issue has been trending for a while. At a point in time, they said, look, they were allowing airlines to import their own aviation fuel. It just points to something untidy about our petroleum sector. What's happening? I mean, we all celebrated the fact that you now have the PIA, that's the Petroleum Industry Act. There were also jubilation and celebrations at some point that the refineries were now undergoing total overhaul. Port Harcourt, I think Warri and Kaduna, nothing is being heard about those developments. Dangote has, of course, also now altered its completion date and therefore production date from its refinery in Lagos. So you have product issues, although there's a story we had on our bulletin this morning, namely that the president has now approved the review of the freight rates that are usually paid. That's part of what you call in the industry parlance, the bridging amounts that are paid for the freighting of petroleum products from where they are offloaded at the base right up to Abuja and then elsewhere in the country. That's why there have been complaints, for instance, about the persistent scarcity of petroleum products in and around Abuja. To say, look, diesel is expensive, and therefore the trucks that will haul petroleum products, are unable to get them. All kinds of issues, but it just points to something untidy that needs to be handled. Yes.
All right. Let me get the lead story on the front page of Friday Al Jazeera. Finally, Atiku picks Okowa as vice. This story, of course, has been trending yesterday. They write it there. Ohaneze kicks over choice of Delta governor. Now, Buhari's kinsman emerges Tinubu's temporary running mate. Then there are other stories. Truck driver loses control, kills 36 in Delta, unfortunately. Troops rescue 2 Chibok girls with children in Borno. Onto the left column, that's to your right. Why I withdrew my case against APC ITA. Extortion at ports costs shippers 3 trillion naira yearly. And then, of course, Ekiti Guba. Tomorrow, Saturday, is D-Day. INEC distributes sensitive materials. And, okay, those are the stories trending on the front page of Al Jazeera. Chris, do you have other stories too?
Well, no, but I've read all the stories.
You read something about cult.
No, I don't have the details. I think those are cultists who were celebrating, and then of course the law enforcement agents went in there to pick them up. That's a wise move. But the stories around the running mates of the presidential candidates, that's settled now for the People's Democratic Party. I don't know whether there is still a great deal of speculation around that of the APC. Labour Party also hasn't named its own, and then NNPP, I'm not sure, has also named its own running mate. But today, of course, today is the deadline for all the political parties that are contesting the presidential election next year to forward the names of their candidates and along with the running mates. You can see there Okowa, that's deputy, is the governor of Delta State, a medical doctor, born 1959. He'd been in politics for a long time. He was a one-time senator, former secretary to the state government of Delta. He also been a commissioner. He'd also been a secretary to Ika local council. And of course, Atiku Abubakar, former vice president of the Federal Republic, 1999 to 2007, and has been chosen the presidency for a number of occasions, just like incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari. For the APC, it's clear now that it's Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is the candidate of the party, but there's still this speculation because I keep reading that Basari's name has been submitted, but who is who is the running mate and who forwarded the name? Is the news coming from the National Working Committee of the APC? As the chairman of the party spoken to this? That's why I'm a bit taken aback. I'm not quite sure what the details are, because as I said, I've read copies back and forth. But the other story, Claire, something, if we don't have it on the front pages now, I picked that up online. Last weekend on the 11th of June, the deputy governor of Yobe State had some unfortunate incident in his family. Two of his children who were traveling on the Maiduguri-Kano highway were involved in an accident. A daughter and a son, and both of them died. So may their souls rest in peace, and our hearts go out to them at this very trying time for the family. So that's that story. Then, still on the northeast, I'm not sure whether it's settled now that the two females who have been picked up by the military in and around operational areas in Borno State are actually the Chibok girls who were abducted in 2014. I think there are issues around their full identity. There is some controversy, and perhaps, as some persons have suggested, there seems to have been a rush in announcing that they were amongst they could be from Chibok, but were they amongst the 2014 Chibok girls who were abducted by Boko Haram elements? There's no indication as to that. Their names would appear to be conflicting, and I think that proper identification should be done before there's celebration or jubilation as to the persons being reunited with members of their family.
Yes, indeed. Al Jazeera Friday has that story. It says troops rescued two Chibok girls with children in Borno. As Kingsley says, their true identities, linking them with the Chibok incident, could be further explained or clarified. All right, I think, Kingsley, that does it for us. A newspaper review this morning. We thank you. Don't go away. Our conversation on Ekiti election starts in the next couple of minutes. Don't go away.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, before we kickstart our conversation on the final preparations for the Ekiti governorship elections coming up tomorrow, Ekene Undulo, our correspondent, has put together a background.
Saturday, 18th June 2022 is the D-Day for the Ekiti governorship election, and the people are anxious to elect a new leader that will steer the affairs of the state for the next 4 years. 16 political parties are on the ballot with just one female candidate, and they will be slugging it out at the polls in the next 24 hours. Consistently, INEC has maintained its readiness for this election, deploying 4 national commissioners and 8 resident electoral commissioners. The INEC boss, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said 746,065 voters, representing 76% of the 988,923 registered voters, have collected their permanent voter cards, and the choice of who becomes the next governor of Ekiti State is solely in the hands of the electorate. Also, 10,296 personnel will be deployed to the various polling units in the state, with 3,346 bimodal voter accreditation system equipment for the election. With few months to the 2023 general elections, political analysts are regarding the Ekiti election as a litmus test of what to expect come 2023. The build-up to the election has seen reports of violent clashes among supporters of some of the political parties, and since Monday, detachments of heavily armed soldiers have taken over strategic areas and flashpoints in the state, while combined forces constantly embark on patrols of major roads and highways. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Baba, has also announced that 17,373 police personnel will be deployed to provide adequate security in the 177 wards and 2,445 polling units in the state. To douse the tension in the state, candidates were committed to a peace accord by the Abdusalam Abubakar-led National Peace Commission, with pledges made towards ensuring free, fair and credible polls. One other narrative that has kept springing up in recent political discussions is the role of money in influencing the choice of candidates. And for the Ekiti governorship election, it is not yet clear what measures have been put in place to prevent this practice. On this episode of Good Morning Nigeria, guests shall be looking at final preparations for Ekiti governorship election.
All right, so let's quickly get to it. We have here in the studio with us to discuss final preparations for the Ekiti governorship election, Dr. Zachary Momo Ismaila. He's senior lecturer, Department of International Relations and Diplomacy at the Bayes University here in Abuja. We'd like to welcome Dr. Ismaila with us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Also joining us from our studio in Ado Ekiti is Johnson Babatunde Kukumo, Deputy Inspector General of Police, Force Criminal and Investigation Department. He's in charge of supervising and coordinating the Ekiti governorship election for the Nigerian police. DIG Kukumo, thank you very much for finding time to join us on the program.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
All right. Thank you. We also have in the Ado Ekiti studios there Dr. Adeniran Ramon Teller, who is the Ekiti Resident Electoral Commissioner for INEC. Ramon Teller, a pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And also there in the studio is Tayo Osho. She's the correspondent of the Nigerian Television Authority there in Ekiti State. Tayo, it's our pleasure to have you this morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be on the program.
Okay, now we understand that the DIG, that's Johnson Kukumo, will be leaving us around about 8 o'clock. Of course, this is the eve of the election, and so there's a lot of work to be done. So let's maximize his time with us right away, Claire. And I would say, I would ask you, DIG Kukumo, what is the security situation like ahead of voting tomorrow?
The situation here in Ekiti State is calm, as we have joint anti-crime patrol of the police, the military, and other sister law enforcement agencies within the state. So far, so good. There is no cause for worries as far as the security situation is concerned.
Thank you. We're glad to hear that from you. I'm sure you've not really told us, although it's been out there, the media, the strength of personnel and the equipment that you are deploying for this election. But policing Ekiti shouldn't be such a mountain to climb, I want to presume, given the landmark of the state, given, of course, the population of the state and the character of the people.
Currently, we have in place over 17,000 police personnel from different departments of the Nigerian police force. We have the conventional men posted to the polling booths to provide security. We have the PMF men, that is the police mobile force. We have the EOD. We have other tactical units who have been deployed for this exercise. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Alkali Baba, FDC, has equally deployed our air wing capacities. We're going to have mission-specific air surveillance from the police air wing to complement the efforts of the policemen on the ground. So we have been able to ensure that our activities are in three phases. The first phase, of course, is the pre-election phase. The second phase is the election phase. And, of course, the third phase is the post-election phase. So adequate proactive measures have been put in place. And, of course, we are doing this not as a one-man show. We are doing this in synergy, collaboration, and understanding with other law enforcement agencies. The military are there. We've had series of meetings, and we have joint operations room where all the services are represented, and we've been having our ESS meeting regularly. We had one just yesterday in the evening before the close of work. So we'll continue to synergize to ensure that we'll have peaceful, fair, free, and of course, transparently credible election in the Ekiti state.
Well, given recent history of governorship elections in that state and what you just said about the calmness in the state on the eve of voting, is this the typical calm before the storm?
I want to assure you that we are not leaving any stone unturned. We have activated our intelligence equipment. We have activated our intelligence department. We have our ears to the ground to ensure that we gather enough of information from all the nooks and crannies with a view to ensuring that steps are taken, adequate steps, of course, are taken to in place adequate security for the success of this election.
DIG, policing Ekiti State will be very, very fundamental, considering the fact that on this program yesterday, one of the candidates emphasized, in fact, she spoke very, very emotionally about, the role of security men in this election, and of course appealed, for unbiased security for every participant. I would like to ask, can you give us an insight into your deployments, considering the number of polling areas? I don't have that figure readily at my fingertips, but considering the polling units, I know more were created by INEC. How are you deploying these facilities that you have?
In Ekiti State, we have a total number of 2,445 polling booths, 177 wards, and of course the collation centers. We have made deployments to all these critical areas, starting with the INEC headquarters itself, where election materials were kept, We have been able to provide adequate security for the escort of both materials and personnel to the various places. So, in each of the polling booths we have in the state, we're going to have the police, we're going to have other services, as I said before now, we're going to have the civil defense personnel, the immigration. We are all working together to ensure success in this election. And it is very, very important to state at this point that there is no cause for worries. Before the election, we have been able to mop up arms in circulation in order to make sure that criminal elements, political thugs, do not have access to such arms and ammunition. And now, what we have been able to put in place at the points of entry into Ekiti State, we have 2 layers of security. We have the first layer consisting of the military, the second layer consisting of other services. This has been put in place, of course, to ensure that criminal elements do not bring in firearms and other dangerous weapons from contiguous states. Since we have successfully mopped up dangerous weapons in circulation before the elections. So, we want to seize this opportunity to appeal to members of the public to please cooperate with our security agencies at the points of entry and, of course, at the points of exit in and out of Ekiti State when they are stopped for routine checks.
But DIG Kukumo, while you're still on this, tell us and our viewers what the movement would be like tomorrow on the day of voting. Again, it's become usual of us to have a lockdown from a certain time to the other. What will happen in Ekiti tomorrow?
Movements will be restricted. We will not encourage voters to move from one polling booth to the other. We will equally not encourage politicians or candidates to move from one polling booth to the other. The moment you perform your civic responsibility of voting, it is expected that you go back to your house. And if for any reason you feel there is the need for you to watch what happens to your vote, you keep a reasonable distance off the polling booths so that you do not in any way violate any of the, you do not commit any of the offenses as contained in the Electoral Act 2022 as amended. As offenders, we will be on the lookout for offenders, for possible arrest, investigation, and diligent prosecution. And also, movement into Ekiti State from midnight will be strictly scrutinized because we will not encourage criminal elements to make incursion, as I said before now, from contiguous states with dangerous weapons to disrupt the process.
Please clarify what you just said now, which is actually the kernel of my question. Because we do know that in the past, there will be restriction of vehicular movement, particularly interstate transportation. But now you're saying from midnight, you will scrutinize movement into, what does that mean? Will you allow interstate travels through Ekiti in the course of the election, or you are shutting down movement in and out of Ekiti from what time to what time?
No interstate movement. Movement is restricted from midnight.
All right, DIG Kukumo, we have to pause you in the meantime because we have a correspondent.
Yes, I just have this last question
for the DIG.
Yes, for the DIG. Just before we let him go, I'm wondering. I know you were part of the peace accord, and the other candidates were also part of the peace accord. But what is the behavior of the candidates towards the security architecture that you have put in place, and have you received any form of complaints from any one of them?
So far, we've not gotten complaints of any form in terms of. We've actually not received any complaints from any of the candidates in the last few days. There have been pockets of complaints, of course, during the electioneering campaigns, complaints of attacks, and all the complaints received so far have been subjected to investigations. And of course, at the close of the investigations, appropriate steps will be taken, processing such matters through our courts, through the judiciary. But so far, in the last few days, we have not actually received complaints of any violent attack coming from any quarters.
All right, DIG Kukumo, thank you very much. We will, if you may, pause you and then go to our correspondent, Charles Alpha, who's on the field there in Ado-Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State. Charles, how are you doing, and what's Ekiti like? Let's say Ado-Ekiti, by the way. What is it like before voting commences tomorrow?
Okay, now it's a good thing. Now, just listening to the guests in the studio talk about restriction and how calm the city of Ado has been, it's completely true. Right now, I'm at the junction, the popular junction here in Ado-Ekiti, where you see vehicular movement right now going on. But I must tell you that we have been to some local governments all the way right from yesterday, Ijo down to Mo. We saw how the political parties, were trying to put finishing touches to their preparations. All of that had ended, yesterday, of course, according to the INEC, the electoral guidelines. Political parties, campaign, all of that had to all stop before the election, 24 hours before the election. And what is happening right now is more or less like finishing touches. There's going to be restriction from midnight, according to the guests, just talking to you right there in the studio. Restrictions is going to begin by midnight. But what you see right now is such that because of this restriction and what is going to happen tomorrow, a lot of people are just moving around to ensure that they do the final preparations. The people are so excited to see what is happening. Yesterday and even this morning, you will see a motorcade of security personnel moving around the town. We saw some in the local government areas yesterday. Some of the local government areas yesterday tried to ensure that the city is calm ahead of tomorrow. Now, these people at Ekiti, the state, they now have the chance to elect their leaders tomorrow. And now tomorrow is the decision-making day, and it's less than 24 hours right now to that period. We want to see how the people are feeling, the expectation going into tomorrow's election, and how they feel, and what kind of leader do they want come tomorrow. And here with me is one of our vibrant youths, from Ekiti State, and he's going to be talking to us what he feels and how prepared is he for tomorrow's election. Can we meet you, please?
I'm Wale by name.
Yeah, Wale, please. Wale will tell us how he feels going into tomorrow's election. How do you feel? How are you prepared to?
I think as a citizen of this state, we are well prepared, and tomorrow, by God's grace, and everybody will be heading to the polling booth, me, my family, and we'll be casting our votes for the candidate of our choice tomorrow.
Okay, now, so when you look at tomorrow's election and look at the people, I'm not saying you should mention names right now. If you look at the people that will be coming up tomorrow contesting for this election, what kind of leader and what kind of governor would you want to emerge tomorrow?
On the normal, we need a candidate, a leader that will have the interests of the citizenry in the heart, a leader that knows what it takes to meet the heart of the people. Everybody knows what we want. And for someone to contest for election, he or she should know, she understand what we need, what we lack in this state: water, everything, electricity, and standard education, all sorts of things we need to make our life better.
So are you prepared to vote tomorrow?
Sure.
Are you prepared to vote tomorrow?
Me and my family, we're going to cast our votes tomorrow.
So do you have your PVC?
Sure, I have it with me.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So from the look of things, you see that they are all ready, and tomorrow the decision making they are very anticipated.
Okay.
I mean, anticipating for a whole lot of changes.
Yes.
All around changes.
Charles, just before you go, Charles, just before you go, the electorate in Ekiti is described as one of the most sophisticated and, again, unpredictable. And that's why even political analysts are unable to say, what might likely be the outcome. From your interaction with the people, what's your evaluation of their understanding of the stakes, in this election?
Sorry, if let me hear it correctly. So what is the evaluation?
From your interaction with the people, we've listened to one of your respondent there talk about, of course, show us his enthusiasm to go out and vote. From the larger people of Ekiti, what evaluation of the understanding of the stakes involved in this election?
Well, looking at the state now as it's strategically placed, the understanding of the people right now is they just want to get everything right. If I may get you correctly, they just want to get everything right in this city. And of course, if you look at their state of mind, and I'm sure that for a more understanding of what is going to happen, and to tell you what my colleague here, Fisayo, has to say, but he had more interaction with the people. He had, interface with a lot of the youth there, and I'm sure you have what it takes. Trying to get the evaluation of what the mindset and the terrain of this place.
I was just trying to get you a guest just left. Two brothers, and they were just telling me I wanted them to get up, but they were saying they don't want to speak in English. They were talking about the fact that there are two family members and they are going to vote for different parties. This is about Ekiti. It's as if it's one state that is one family. Everywhere you go is Ekiti, Ijo Ekiti, Aramoko Ekiti, Ijesha Ishu Ekiti. NTA is going to bring you every part of this broadcast. We are assuring you, and at the same time we want to make sure that you get a feel of the town. Soon after this broadcast, of course, you get to see the sights and sound of Ekiti. But we got an old woman here yesterday, perhaps to bring the video as well. They are highly enlightened. As you can see, people are already putting calculations together, professors at every corner, and we'll see them in the studio as well. Once we get them all, if we can still get them because of this broadcast, we'll bring them in. They are just getting to wake up now and buy a few goods. We just lost a few of them running to get to work. But about Ekiti, it's just 16 local governments. Everywhere is Ekiti, apart from just one town. That's a trick question. You get to know that in the course of the day. I school there as well, so you get to see the people. There'll be not too much in terms of confrontations. They are all one family member. Everybody is Ekiti. It's just the first one. The suffix is all Ekitis, and then you get to see exactly what will happen today. Of course, when they get ready for the big day tomorrow.
Okay, now Claire, I don't know if that answered the question, actually, but now the thing is, you must know that Ekiti State is highly educated state. And if there is anything, be sure that everyone here knows what they want. Everyone here knows what they are expecting from tomorrow's, activity. And of course, we are all waiting. The state is all waiting. Everyone right now is waiting to see what turns out tomorrow.
All right, Charles, very quickly, in the past, we had seen some states for security reasons and also sometimes to pull the rug from under the feet of those who may want to play otherwise. Is today a work-free day in Ekiti, or they're having some time off? Sometimes some states will say, half day of work. Is it a full day's work in Ekiti today? Well, Charles, you didn't seem to get that question. We'd like to thank you. You're there, Claire, so that we can get back to the studios and sign off DIG Johnson Kokumo. We'll get back to Charles later on in the course of the conversation. Now, back to Ado Ekiti studios, where DIG Johnson Kokumo, we thank you for sparing some additional time for being with us. But by the way, I would like you to make a comment on this. There was an incident in Ekiti last weekend in which one person died. I think his name is Ajayi or so. Was that election related or campaign related, or just a pure criminal act?
Investigation into the murder is ongoing, and I would not want at this level to say this is the cause the investigation is assuming, but then it is clear that you got it clear that someone died, Ajayi by name, and our homicide experts have gone into investigations. And I want to assure you that on the completion of investigations, the suspects responsible for the dastardly act, of course, will be prosecuted accordingly.
All right. On that note, we'd like to thank DIG Johnson Kokumo, who is in charge of the security for the Ekiti governorship election. Johnson Kokumo, thank you very much. We know that, of course, at some point you have been Commissioner of Police in Edo State, so you're fairly familiar with that environment. Thank you, and best wishes.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we have Adeniro Ramontella, the INEC resident electoral commissioner, also in Ekiti State. We have Dr. Ismaila is also here with us. Should we come back or we continue with?
Well, I would like Dr. Ismaila is right here with us in the studios. There's no risk of losing our connection to him, but the connection to Ado is pretty clear now. Of course, we have all our equipment on ground. Let's also get some more insight into what is happening in Ekiti. We have, of course, the election manager. That's the resident electoral commissioner, whom you just mentioned his name again, Adeniro Ramontella. Ramontella, let's just begin with the framework for this, because the issue came up yesterday and we'll try to explain it. Tell our viewers, which law is governing the Ekiti governorship election? Is it the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, or the Electoral Act 2022, which came into force in March this year?
The Electoral Act 2022, we are making use of it, and we have some fractional part of 2010 that are also in place for us to make use of.
Oh, okay. Could you explain that? You're making use of functional aspect, I imagine, of course, with the coming into force of the Electoral Act 2022, which was after the party primaries had been conducted sometime in January this year. But now we have, and then of course you had a repeal and a reenactment, which is what Electoral Act 2022 is all about. What are the aspects of 2022 that are significant or relevant to this election?
2022 Act has spelled it out clearly that we have the extension of campaign, which was formerly 90 days, that has been extended to 150 days.
Are you going to use beavers? Are you going to transmit results electronically in tomorrow's election?
Beavers has been completely configured. We have inserted the SIMs, and we conducted the mock accreditation exam in 12 randomly selected polling units in 6 local governments, and the selection was equally based on 3 senatorial districts, where we have 2 per each senatorial district, making 12 all around, and we have a huge success.
All right, Mr. Teller, kindly let us know what the voting strength of Ekiti is, the actual, because we've had, quite conflicting figures. And did INEC also provide for an inclusive voting? And by that I mean those living with one form of disability or the other. How easy has INEC made this election for them?
We have the total number of voter registered standards. Naira 88,023. As I speak, the number of permanent voters card that has been collected, is about 749,065. That's about 76%. And we have the PVC uncollected stand as 236,859. But at the end of closing hour of yesterday, we are still expecting all our electoral officers to harvest all the numbers such that we're able to publish it and make public known where the figure stands, so in order for us to ascertain the margin of lead that will be the major determinant of the total number of PVC collected in our respective polling units.
I would like you to still touch on the aspect of electronic transmission of results, which is one of the key features of the Electoral Act 2020. You already said you had a pilot of beavers, and that's going to, of course, apply tomorrow. We also had beavers, by the way, in the Anambra election last November. But it's the result going to be transmitted electronically from polling unit up straight on to the final collation center.
As they are casting their votes, the result will be releasing electronically so that people will be able to know the number of voters and those who have voted.
Mr. Ramoni, Mr. Teller, just before we let you go, in my first question, I had a 2 question. You answered the first one, and you didn't say anything about provision for a seamless exercise for those living with one form of disability or the other. Or are they not included in this election? INEC didn't make provision for them?
Training, which was planned for a period of 5 weeks sometimes ago, and before we engage in such exercise, we call the people with disabilities, we engage them, we train them, we have some of them as our observers, and we have even released, the commission has released the magnified glasses that they're going to make use of and the braille guide for the people with disability. We have some certain equipment that will aid them for them to cast their vote conveniently.
Ramon Teller, thank you. But let's pause you in the meantime. I'll bring in our correspondent, Tayo Osho, who's been sitting in the studios since this conversation started. Tayo, tell us, what is the mood in Ekiti on the eve of the governorship election? Is there excitement in the air? Is there tension? Is there hope?
Right, the mood in town is very relatively calm. The people are excited, and they can actually wait to go to the polls tomorrow to actually cast their ballot for the candidate of their choice. And just like we all know, the people are quite enlightened, and quite a number of educated people everywhere around town. So they're excited, and I'm sure they are well informed to make the right choice tomorrow. So the people are excited, and they are eager to go to the polls.
Okay, we understand there are 16 candidates. Yesterday we had a conversation with a couple of them. Just again, back up into the politics of Ekiti State. No one governor of that state since 1999 has had 2 consecutive terms that, of course, would then lead to a bar under our constitutional arrangements. We understand there are front runners in this particular race. So what more can you tell us about the race? Is it a race of godfathers, or a race that the people are saying, look, this is what we want?
Right, the reports and all the NTA has done over the time, right from the pre-campaigns and the campaign period. From what we have, the people they know what they want. It's not about godfatherism. It's just about the people knowing what they want and the criteria they want in the next governor. The candidates have actually sold their manifestos to the people, and the people are informed. They know what they want, and it's just about them and them alone. So hopefully there's not going to be any case of godfatherism. It's just about the people making the right choice tomorrow.
All right, Tayo, in covering elections, especially in Ekiti, previous elections, it was the media that broke the issue of stomach infrastructure. Now, yesterday on this program, one of the candidates, led us into another, slogan, which is Dibon Sebe. Now, have you in any way, what's the strength of that? Is it happening?
Right, in previous elections, there have been reported cases of inducement in some polling units. But actually, with the level of enlightenment, even from the media, NTA inclusive, telling the people that their vote is their right. They have the right to choose the next leader. They have the right to exercise their franchise. And from various enlightenment, the NTA, through a reporter, you've been telling the people that their vote is very important. If it is not, then nobody will be willing to induce them to actually make them change their mind on whoever they want to vote for. So hopefully in this coming election, we're going to see less cases of inducement of voters, and because the people are well informed at this time and they know that it is their right to vote and choose the right leaders without any form of inducement, because it is their right to actually determine. It's not just for them, it's for them, and it's the duty to the unborn generation as well. I think the people are well informed this time around, and we'll see less cases of that.
Well, Tayo, you've said almost repeatedly that the voters know the candidate for whom they are casting their ballot. What are the issues in this election?
In this election, it's about the people wanting a development in the state, because looking at statistics, the state is an agrarian state, and it's people actually call it the state a civil service state, because people are looking forward to a change where they will have a leader that will actually do more in terms of industrialization, so that there will be more jobs for the people. Like people are enlightened and educated, and you see graduates everywhere. There's actually no time in Ekiti where you won't see a professor at least. So people are enlightened, they're educated, and the legacy people leave for their children in Ekiti is education. They just want their children to be educated. So people want a case where more jobs were provided in terms of industrializing the state, instead of empowering the people to actually come up with businesses of their own, to actually have a more vibrant state. So the people are looking forward, they're looking out for someone that actually gives them that. So they are well informed, like I said earlier.
A lot of media men would be skeptical in going to Ekiti. I mean, because of, the Ekiti's history during elections. What can you tell us? We've spoken with the DIG. He's told us the level of security preparations. But from your point of view, from the media perspective, what can you tell us about the security for both those covering the elections and those actually participating and those casting their votes?
For like almost a week now, we've been seeing security men, the military, the police, even the men of the civil defense corps all around town, actually providing security for the people. So, and there have not been any case of intimidation by the security men. So we are optimistic that the election will be peaceful. There will be adequate deployment of our security men, and just like the DIG said, he actually had a press briefing yesterday, and he actually told us the number of men that will be deployed for the election. And every polling unit, there will be policemen, there will be men from other security organizations on ground to provide security for the people, as well as those conducting the election, the electoral officers, and as well as the media. So there will be no cause for alarm, definitely, and the media will have a free way to actually perform their duty. And even from the electioneering, the media have been given a free opportunity, a free hand to do their job. And I'm sure it's going to be the same tomorrow as well.
All right, Tayo, thank you very much. Of course, as you were responding to our questions, we also had on air an area shot of a suburb called Ijibo in Ado. That's the capital of Ekiti State. We will, of course, pause you in the meantime as well as the rec, and then bring in a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, a veteran of elections, is a chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform and convener, Say No Campaign Nigeria. Is Ezewa Wagu. Ezewa Wagu, you're right there in the studios now. When did you get into town and what have you seen?
Well, thank you. I've been around for a while. I've been here for about a week. And generally we've been moving around, training observers, preparing them to oversight the elections, and to see how much we can inspire public confidence in the electoral process. And we've attended almost all the town halls, the stakeholder meetings, and the peace accord. And we've also moved around different local governments in Ekiti State. I think one of the big issues that we will need to contend with, that is not likely going to go away, is voter inducement. What Claire talked about, the Dibokosebe phenomenon. It's been waved out, been made to look like it's not going to happen. But we do know that leading to this, the politicians were invented the door-to-door campaign strategy, which nobody investigated. Nobody cared to know what that innovation in the Ekiti State has been. Since we saw this Diboko Sebe thing from Ondo State, I've had radio interactions with citizens. Many of them are very, very insistent that democratic outcomes have not favored the people, and that what we are saying does not. But we've continued to push it very strongly that there is need for them to understand that they devalue their citizenship when they get into this transactional relationship with politicians. And at the end of the day, 2,000 naira, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 cannot substitute for good roads, quality hospitals, and good living standards for the people of Ekiti. And that we are pushing on. And for security, the conversation is still on. Yesterday, the DIG had this interaction with both the media, the civil society, and we raised very clear issues around the fact that we've seen in the past, and for those of us who have observed elections, that security agents have aided and abetted this Diboke Sebe thing, and we are asking them to ensure that doesn't happen going forward, and that one way to do that is to also take care of the welfare of the men who will be on election duty, security agents who will be on election duty, so that they don't have excuses to then collaborate with those who want to undermine the integrity of this process. So generally, we are trying to sweep the different stakeholders and prepare them to ensure that at the end of the day we have credible elections. And then, to the credit of INEC, a lot of voter education has gone out from their side. The National Orientation Agency has also pushed out quite a lot of voter education, and we are hoping that all that will account for something on Saturday. But much more importantly, we hope that all of this does not become what we see when our Super Eagles are preparing for football. The excitement is all over there, but on election day and on football match day, they just disappoint everyone. So we want to see that all of these efforts that have been put to ensure that Saturday lives up to the billing of the wishes and aspirations of a greater majority of Nigerians and Ekiti people comes true.
That's an unfair analogy. That's an unfair analogy.
Well, from time to time we get disappointed by the Super Eagles, but there are moments, and there have been moments in the past when the Super Eagles have lived up to the hype that they were given. But it's as it was always. I mean, dispassionately, it's raised a number of critical issues that everyone has to be concerned about, so that when tomorrow comes, when we are having the postmortem, there will not be, this is what they prepared, and then suddenly
XYZ. 10
Sao Tome is $1 million in soccer. But let's return to the studios in Ado Ekiti and ask the rec, that's Adeni Ramontela, Resident Electoral Commissioner. Well, do you have any concerns about potential flashpoints and then getting to hard to reach areas in terms of deployment of your men and materials? Because I mean, one can almost prepare a script in advance and say that officials did not arrive at the time they were supposed to arrive, materials came in 10 o'clock, XYZ. What plans do you have to mitigate this? And by the way, how long have you been in Ekiti?
Just ask the first question. The preparations toward this gubernatorial election that will take place tomorrow has reached an advanced stage at all levels of our preparations. In the issue of transportation, we have activated and domesticated the MOU signed with the NURTW, and adequate vehicles have been provided. We made the specification in the aspect of the kind of vehicles that will be brought to us, and we have even ensured that the reverse logistics must equally take place on time, and they meet up with the necessary requirement. Then the issue of security is very, very important. From our own end, the commission, we discovered that the security operatives will be greatly influenced by the Electoral Institute, and the Electoral Institute has even come up in collaboration with the Electoral Security Training, where they put up a 3-phase layers training, cascaded the security training for these operatives, and eventually we itemize some of the challenges that we normally encounter during the election. The first one is timely deployment of the security personnel, such that we have the main target of the commission, which is having 100% opening of pool in the morning. Then another aspect we look at is the uniformity of the identification of security personnel during the election day. And we want them also to be reporting, monitoring and responding to some issues at our situation rooms, which has to do with the election activities. We don't want them to be unhindered as they proceed. And if anything should therefore occur, they find a means of mitigating against this without having any negative consequences on the election day. Then we, like the way DIG said before he left, that sealing up of all the boundaries is very, very essential, and we are looking up to that. And we want to even advise them that most of those people that will be surrounding the state collation office must be people of dynamic and style records. Although we have been reviewing this for the past 6 months, addressing the dynamics as it manifests, but nevertheless, they still need to be more proactive by mitigating against any security lapses that may eventually erupt from election violence. We are not envisaging any problem for our own end. Our sensitive materials, we had the full complement and non-sensitive materials, and this has been onwardly batched and distributed to our local government area offices. And as I speak, they have even been gotten to all the polling units. So the only thing that we are about to do now is the activation of our rack center, and that will be taking place in the next few hours by the time I leave this place.
Dr. Adeni Ramontela, INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Ekiti State, would like to appreciate you for finding time to join us this conversation, and we do wish you all the luck that you need for tomorrow. We also like to thank our correspondent, Tayo Osho, who is in Ekiti studio, of course, to give us the issues. Tayo, many thanks to you, and also break a leg tomorrow. We have still with us to continue our conversation when we come back from this break. Ezenwa Nwagu is joining us from Ado-Ekiti via Zoom, and of course Dr. Ismaila, who has been waiting patiently with us right here in the studio. When we come back, we'll take up our conversation with them for the remaining part of the program.
You're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We're back to our headquarters studios with our guest, Dr. Zachary Momo. Ismail, I would like to thank you for your patience. As we said, we're going to we're taking advantage of our correspondents on the field, as well as the other guests in our Ekiti studios. We still have 2 of them there, but we'll return to them after getting your views. Let's have your insight into what the Ekiti governorship election represents and what concerns, if any.
Well, thank you. I think Ekiti governorship election that is coming tomorrow is a very significant moment for Nigerians to watch. We have heard from different stakeholders, the INEC, the Resident Electoral Commission there, and even the people in the field. We have also heard from the citizen. The tempo is high. The people are anxious to go to poll and elect somebody that is going to pilot their affairs in the next 4 years. And it is a very significant moment. However, I think what is very instructional in this issue is that Ekiti has been traditionally a two-party state, so to say, the dominant party. But what is playing out now is that we have been able to see emerging of the third force to be in play. Of course, in this time around, I mean SDP. And with this, I think it has risen the consciousness of the citizen to go and contest tomorrow election with back-to-back contest. What that means is that, of course, All Progressive People's Party, APC, has its own candidate, PDP also there, which has been the traditional 2 political party that usually contest keenly in the state. It is expected before that if it's not APC, it will be PDP. But with the emergence of SDP now, it pulled a force into the whole electioneering campaign and electioneering process that one cannot sit down and predict what is going to be the outcome. Minding the fact that all these forces, they have been there. Shegu Oni, the former Ekiti State Governor, was formerly there, and since he could not secure the ticket of PDP, he pulled out there and come under SDP. And you cannot deny the fact that, of course, there are aggrieved members from APC as a result of the primary, also PDP, and they are joining the force now to make a formidable contest in coming tomorrow election as such. And that has raising the consciousness of the citizen. People are campaigning, people are interested, and as such, we are going to see that's how it play out tomorrow. Knowing fully the fact that from what we have heard and from what you know, that Ekiti people are quite enlightened. However, we have seen in the past where stomach infrastructure has come to play, and for the person, former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, introducing that and worked for him then. But that notwithstanding, we know that because of the level of education, because of the level of enlightenment, because of the level of consciousness of people that are there, I think they will be looking forward to see who can give them best governance that will protect their own interests and the interests of their children yet on board in future time.
Okay, Dr. Ismaila, one would, assume that the homogeneous character of Ekiti State, would play, for them, in the positive. But as it seems, it's like, in fact, it's they are not leveraging that strength, positively enough.
Well, despite the homogeneity of the Ekitans, like we have had, out of the 16 local government, it is only one that is not carrying Ekiti, is that not so? But then, there is still something that is very instrumental to the contest in Ekiti election. Like I am aware that Ekiti South has never produced governorship. And when you looked at the composition of people that has gotten the ticket of major, especially the 3 major political parties as it stays now, not from Ekiti South. So how then do you place that into playing homogeneity? Let me tell you, election, democracy is all about inclusiveness. You can see in recent time, the northern governors insisted that they must zone or they must take the power back to the south, simply because they want the south also to have that feelings of togetherness and or feelings of inclusivity. So coming back to Ekiti, despite their all Yorubas, despite the homogeneity nature of the state, there is still level of marginalization, so to say. But how do you consider that marginalizing within the state? Yes, that will not also play so much, simply because I think because of their enlightenment, like I've said, I think they'll be wishing to see somebody that can deliver, knowing fully well that Ekiti, as we have had, is almost civil servant state, is agrarian state, and knowing fully well also that they have issue of this farmer headers clashes in their forest, that the governor of state is being criticized heavily, that he has not taken that so much. Of course, you have heard during Fayoshe, even before the present governor of Kayode that is there, during Fayoshe, they have had element of people, the so-called Fulani henchmen in their bushes, in their forest, that they have asked to leave. And it's like that is not yet finally solved up to the moment that we speak. And the present governor is being criticized heavily. I think it's also part of the campaign that people, the major political parties, flag bearers, are putting forward, that look, for the fact that our citizens are mainly, their source of income is based on agriculture, we will do this in order to protect the people to go into their own profession. And also for the Ekiti is also characterized with very high unemployment rate. So what do you do with that? It is for the incoming government. So if you said we're all homogeneous and yet our interest is not being taken care of, I think it raises a lot of question. And that call for the citizen to look critically among the contestant, among the aspirant, who can actually take us to the promised land. And I think Ekiti will decide for that tomorrow. The citizens will decide for that tomorrow.
All right, Dr. Smela, thank you very much for the perspective that you have raised. Now, back to our Ado Ekiti studios. Ezewa Nwagu, what's your reading of the people's mood on the eve of the elections tomorrow?
Well, there is honestly no way to predict. One beautiful thing about democracy is its unpredictability. And you did allude to the history of voting in Ekiti that has been shocking. That sometimes almost in this dispensation we have seen a gap when an incumbent is taken out and then opposition comes in, and then there is that gap, and then the other one comes in. We saw it with Fayoshe, we saw it with Dr. Kayode Fayemi. But all that put together, moving around, you are seeing a more interested citizenry, a more if you attended the town halls, if you came for the debates, you will see that they are signposting the issues around unemployment, the issues around education, the issues around gratuities and pension. All of those issues are critical, and the costs, the general high cost of living, which even the Bureau of Statistics has put on the ground. But generally, talking with the looking at the contestants and the candidates, we've seen people who are not completely new to the Ekiti political environment, whether you are talking about that of the APC or the PDP or the SDP and even the other candidates. They've all been players in the governmental circles of Ekiti since 1999, one way or the other. So even if there are challenges, they also have vicarious liability. They carry vicarious liability in the conditions that everyone is expressing and looking for change around. So whichever one of them comes, what will be important is the determination of the citizens to hold government accountable. And that is why we are focusing attention on those things that can quieten them, that can keep them quiet if they don't take care of it now, which is the voter inducement thing. Once citizens enter into transactional relationship with politicians and candidates, it stymies their ability to hold government accountable. So whether it's PDP, APC, SDP, at the end of the day, it has to boil down with the readiness of citizens and civic organizations within Ekiti to raise the bar and begin to ask questions and hold government accountable. But across the length and breadth, we are seeing people who are prepared. There is a positive outlook in terms of violence. The skirmishes have not been as it's not been as charged as we saw in 2018. We've seen, yes, there are pockets of issues, but they are not like what you saw in 2014, 2018, and this 2022. We are seeing much more ready people, peaceful people, and people who are going to go to the polls wanting to exercise their franchise. But the security agencies, INEC, and other stakeholders must continue to ensure that the will and determination of the Ekiti people is not short-circuited by these pecuniary considerations that is nearly reducing the integrity of our electoral process, both at the national and at the leadership recruitment level and at the elections itself. That should be the major concern for me in this election.
Okay, Ezenwa, if you look at the backbenchers, or as you, if you may, the godfathers, behind the very prominent parties. You look at, Peter, the Rock Fayose. You look at Dr. Fayemi, look at Fayemi, who also is a technocrat. You look at Segun Ni, former governor for 2 years. Now, these are big players that are, driving the direction of these the parties. Of course, not forgetting the other political parties. How would you evaluate the conduct of these, drivers, of these movers, within the context of the type of campaign strategy that they have employed throughout the period of campaigning? It's not the usual, mega rally campaign that we see everybody, come to a stage, crowd pulling and all that. We understand that this time it's door to door.
But yesterday, and day before yesterday, we saw the close of rallies for some of the political parties, but the door-to-door strategy, like I said, is not interrogated. But I think that we need to de-emphasize the former, the role of the godfather, because the candidates in themselves have also good history politically in the state. If you take, for instance, the PDP candidate, someone who has been a supervisory councillor and has run all the wrong of probably being a legislator, being a commissioner, and then is an aspirant. I think he should be able to have some social capital himself with which he can drive his campaign. If you are talking about Engineer Segun Oni, a former governor, he has credentials, past credentials that he can put on the table. He may not necessarily need anyone pushing him. And then if you talk about Biodun, the candidate of the APC. He's also been this secretary to the state government. I understand he's also been a commissioner, and he's also on ground. So by themselves, they have social capital with which to drive their elections. If you notice the 2018 election, you had these so-called godfathers in the front line, leading the campaigns. But this time around, they have taken a backstage. They are not really driving it, and that has reduced tension in the sense in which we saw it in 2018. And because the candidates themselves, if you watch them in the town hall and in the debates, there is a familiarity. There is some kind of, we know each other, where we've been friends, we've worked with each other in different ways. And if you notice the fluidity of movement, the Segun Oni has moved from PDP to APC and now to SDP. You also have had this, so everybody has in one way or the other, interwoven with each other. That reduces tension. So what is going to happen now is the citizens themselves extraying and looking at these three candidates and determining which of them has capacity to lead into after 2022 and give them those things that they look forward to, that like I put in the front burner. They have talked about education, they've talked about gratuity and pensions, they are talking about health, they are talking about education, they are talking about unemployment, cost of living. All of those issues are the things that I think will be the consideration for those who will be voting on Saturday.
Well, thanks a lot. Tayo, our correspondent, is still there in the studios. Tayo, let's have your own take on what the mood is like against the background of the multifarious issues that are driving the election. Do you get a sense that citizens are enthusiastic about trooping out tomorrow? We understand that over 700,000 PVCs have been collected, but I mean, let's hope that when the numbers are added up tomorrow, we don't have fewer than 30% of voters turning out. Do you get a sense that citizens are saying, look, this is the time for me to cast my ballot on the basis of the issues that I feel very passionate about?
Well, I think the citizens are now well informed, and they are not aware that the only way they can actually effect the change they want and the polity in the environment, in the government of the state, is for them to vote and exercise their franchise. So they are well informed, they are excited, they are eager, and going around the street of Ado-Ekiti, you realize that a lot of them even going around with their voters' cards because they just want to be sure that they have it with them and they are just ready to go tomorrow. Interacting with some of them, even the elderly, they are ready to actually go to the polling unit as early as 6:30 to actually make sure they are in the queue and just waiting for the electoral officials to commence the exercise and for them to exercise their franchise. So the people actually, like what Mr. Isenwa said, they are actually looking for someone that will actually give them the things they want. It is not about the party, it is about the candidate delivering to them what the thing, because the people realize that they can actually channel their level of education into good governance, and they want someone that can actually do that for them. So they are eager, and the mood is, they are excited, and they are just waiting for tomorrow to come to exercise their franchise.
Okay, this time, Tayo, I will have to say thank you, a very big one at that, for joining us from our Ado-Ekiti studios in Ekiti State. Thank you very much, and then we wish you success, of course, in your coverage of the elections tomorrow. Thank you, Tayo.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Tayo, my colleague joining us from Ado-Ekiti. Kingsley.
All right, also there in the Ado-Ekiti studios, we'd like to appreciate Ezenwa Nwagu. Ezenwa Nwagu, a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, is chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform. Ezenwa, great delight having you around. I wanted to just be on the lookout for one issue, because Ekiti actually brought that on in one of the off-cycle elections. As some persons have said, the risk of over-policing. If you recall, that was where they had the hooded security personnel, and people were intimidated, and so on and so forth. We know that you can't police every square inch of that territory, but is over-policing going to be an issue, or is it going to be a facilitator of voting? Ezenwa, great delight having you, and we do hope that you'll join us in a post-mortem of the elections.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now back to the studios here. Let's get the closing thoughts of Dr. Ismaila. Dr. Ismaila, well, in 24 hours, the voters, of course, will begin their civic duty. What do you expect?
Well, I expect peaceful election. I expect high turnout of the voters. I expect that the security situation will be conducive enough for those voters to exercise their franchise. And I expect that from what we have seen from all the analysis that we have had from the critical stakeholders, I think Ekiti is a litmus test for what we are expecting in 2023, and Ekiti and Oshu that will come before 2023 general election. I think INEC, police, security agencies has to display their readiness that 2023 election will actually be a fruitful one, and we are watching Ekiti tomorrow and wish Ekiti and the electoral body best of luck as we go to elect those that will pilot the affairs of Ekiti in the next 4 years.
All right, Dr. Zachary Momo Ismaila, Senior Lecturer in the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy at Base University here in the nation's capital. Great delight having you with us on the program this morning.
It's my pleasure being here.
All right, so that does it for our conversation segment. Let's go over now to sports.
Right, Kingsley, I have adopted family members and lots of friends in Ekiti. So my prayer is for Ekiti. As you go out tomorrow, I pray you have a very free, fair and violence-free election. And that's how we conclude today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, and indeed for the week. I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak. Have a good weekend.
I understand already, of course, it's people.
You got it.
Yeah, but it's important that you vote your conscience. The Bonsibe won't take you anywhere. I'm Kingsley Osadola. Enjoy your day and your weekend. Good Morning Nigeria returns on Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning.